Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with, insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets. Today, we're diving deep into the world of cutting-edge defense tech and the company shaking things up in Dural Industries. You're all about staying ahead of the curve, right? So we've prepped a deep dive into some seriously fascinating articles about them.
Indeed we are. We're looking at excerpts from Revolutionizing Defense, Arsenal One's Vision for America's Security Future, and Ensuring the Future, meeting the 2026 Timeline for Strategic Readiness. Get ready for some thought-provoking stuff.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Dural has this ambitious project called Arsenal One. What's the big idea here?
Arsenal One aims to completely revolutionize defense manufacturing here in the U.S. It's all about maintaining that technological edge in a world where the landscape of defense is changing rapidly.
Makes sense. But why the crazy rush? They're aiming for production to begin by mid-2026, right? That's like right around the corner.
Well, there's a real sense of urgency driving that timeline. One of the articles points out a potential scenario where the U.S. could exhaust its existing munitions stockpile within just 8 days of a conflict with China.
8 days?
8 days,
Oh.
yeah. So Dural's not just building, cool tech. They're trying to address a potentially critical vulnerability.
So they're basically saying, we need to be ready for anything, and we need to be ready fast.
Precisely. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. They chose Ohio for Arsenal One.
Ohio.
Not California, not Texas, but Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio seems like an unexpected choice for this kind of cutting-edge defense project.
Right. You'd think Silicon Valley would be a shoo-in, but it wasn't even a contender. Ohio won out because of factors like its skilled workforce, business-friendly policies, plus being close to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is a major strategic advantage.
So Ohio's offering the brains, the infrastructure, and the strategic location. What's the payoff for them?
This is big. Arsenal One is projected to be the largest single job creation event in Ohio's history. Think 4,000 direct jobs and countless more indirectly supported. That's a massive economic boost.
Wow, talk about a win-win. But let's get back to the tech itself. Arsenal One is more than just a factory, right?
Absolutely. It's strategically located at Rickenbacker Airport. This allows for rapid deployment of their defense systems directly to customers or theaters of operation. Think of it as a modern-day arsenal, equipped to respond to threats in real time.
Okay, now that's impressive. What specific systems are they developing there?
They're creating some truly innovative autonomous systems. One example is the Fury combat aircraft. It's designed for air-to-air combat. Then there's the Barracuda. That's an advanced cruise missile system. Both are designed to seamlessly integrate with existing U.S. and allied forces.
So they're pushing the boundaries of autonomous tech in defense. But here's what I don't get. Dural's taking a very different approach compared to traditional defense contractors, right?
Exactly. They're acting more like a product company, not just a contractor. They're willing to take big risks by investing heavily in development before securing government contracts.
Hold on, how much are we talking about here?
They've already poured a staggering $1.5 billion of their own money into getting this project off the ground.
Wow.
That's a level of investment rarely seen in the defense sector.
That's a bold move. Especially considering that $1.5 billion could buy you a lot of, anything. So what's driving this breakneck speed and massive investment?
It's a combination of factors. The 2026 deadline seems to be heavily influenced by potential shifts in global power dynamics. There's a lot of talk about a possible conflict with China by 2027.
So a mix of strategic preparation and a bit of a tech arms race.
You could say that, but it's also about Dural wanting to shake up the defense industry. Their founder, Palmer Luckey, is a big advocate for faster procurement processes, greater private sector involvement in defense. He argues that the U.S. needs to be bolder and more agile to maintain its edge.
He's basically saying, we can't afford to get bogged down in bureaucracy while our rivals are racing ahead. Makes sense to me.
He draws parallels to World War II when the U.S. partnered with private companies to rapidly scale up production. Luckey believes the U.S. needs to recapture that spirit of innovation and quick response to face the challenges of the 21st century.
So it's not just about building weapons, it's about changing the whole mindset of how we approach defense.
Exactly. Dural is betting that their approach will be the key to meeting the challenges of the future. Now, this brings us to another interesting point. The potential competition for talent between Arsenal One and other major projects popping up in Ohio, like Intel's new semiconductor facility.
Right, I'd heard about that. So it's like a tech talent tug of war in Ohio.
It's possible, but it could also be a good thing. Having multiple major employers could actually create a more robust tech ecosystem, attracting even more top talent and positioning Ohio as a new hub for innovation and economic growth.
So instead of competing, they could end up boosting each other.
Precisely. It's a fascinating dynamic to watch unfold.
It really is. We've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
Arsenal One's ambitious goals, Andural's bold vision, Ohio's unexpected rise as a tech hub. There's a lot to digest. What's the one thing you'd say is the most surprising or thought-provoking takeaway from all of this?
What strikes me is how quickly the worlds of technology, defense, and geopolitics are converging. Companies like Anduril are pushing the boundaries of what's possible and forcing us to rethink how we approach national security in this rapidly changing world.
It's definitely a lot to think about. Okay, let's take a quick break.
To process all of this. When we come back, we'll delve deeper into the potential impact of Anduril's approach on the future of national security. One thing that's particularly striking about Anduril's approach is how it echoes strategies that were successful during World War II.
Really? I'm curious to hear more about that. How so?
Well, think back to World War II. The U.S. government partnered with private companies to rapidly increase production of, well, everything, from tanks and planes to munitions and supplies. This mobilization of industry played a crucial role in winning the war.
So you're saying that Anduril is taking a page out of that playbook, embracing a similar sense of urgency and collaboration.
Exactly. They argue that the U.S. needs to recapture that same spirit of innovation and responsiveness to effectively meet the challenges of the 21st century.
I see the parallel. Instead of waiting for government contracts to dictate the pace of innovation, they're taking the initiative, investing their own resources, and moving at a speed that's practically unheard of in the traditional defense industry.
It's a high-risk, high-reward approach, but it could be a real game changer if it works. But of course, no approach is without its potential downsides.
That's true. Let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What are some of the potential drawbacks or concerns with this model?
Well, one valid concern is that this level of private sector involvement could lead to a blurring of lines between national security interests and corporate profits.
Right. We don't want to see defense decisions being driven solely by the bottom line. That's a dangerous path to go down.
Absolutely. There's also the issue of oversight and accountability. If companies like Anduril are taking on more responsibility for developing and deploying critical defense systems, how do we ensure transparency and responsible use?
That's a crucial point. And what about the potential for this kind of rapid innovation in defense technology to trigger an arms race or exacerbate global instability?
That's another legitimate concern. Whenever you have a significant advancement in military technology, it has the potential to disrupt the balance of power and create new security challenges.
It seems like finding the right balance is key. We need to prepare for potential threats while also ensuring that we're proceeding responsibly and thoughtfully. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
I completely agree. It requires careful consideration and ongoing dialogue.
So we've talked about the potential advantages and risks of Anduril's approach, but let's shift gears for a moment and bring it back to you, the listener. What does all of this mean for you, for everyday people?
Well, from a practical standpoint, this could mean that we'll see more advanced defense systems being developed and deployed in the coming years, systems that could have a direct impact on global security.
So this isn't just some abstract concept, it's something that has the potential to touch all of our lives.
Exactly. It also raises important questions about the role of technology in society and the balance of power between governments and corporations.
Wow, that's getting into some deep philosophical territory.
Yeah.
It's amazing how a deep dive into one company can lead to such profound reflections.
It really speaks to the interconnectedness of everything these days. Technology, defense, economics, global politics, it's all intertwined.
So true. Okay, as we wrap up this part of our discussion, here's a final thought to ponder. Could Arsenal One's success become a blueprint for modernizing America's defense infrastructure and meeting the challenges of the 21st century?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Only time will tell if this bold experiment will ultimately succeed or fail. But regardless of the outcome, Anduril's approach is sparking a much-needed conversation about the future of defense and the role of innovation in national security.
And that conversation is crucial. We need to be thinking about these issues and engaging in thoughtful debate.
Absolutely. The decisions we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.
Well said. Now, let's shift gears again and take a closer look at the human side of this story. We've been focusing on the big picture, but I'm curious about the people on the ground at Arsenal One. What about the engineers, the technicians, the folks making this vision reality? What's it like to work at Anduril?
From what I've gathered, Anduril has cultivated a unique company culture that sets it apart from, traditional defense contractors. They attract top talent from diverse backgrounds, people who are passionate about using technology to solve complex problems.
So it's not your typical buttoned-up bureaucratic defense contractor environment.
Not at all. They foster a culture that encourages creativity, risk-taking, and rapid iteration. It's much more akin to a fast-paced tech startup than a traditional defense company.
Which makes sense, given their Silicon Valley roots.
Yeah.
I bet there's a real sense of excitement and energy surrounding this project.
Imagine being part of something that could potentially reshape the landscape of national security. That has to be incredibly motivating.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the impact this is having on Ohio. We're talking about thousands of new jobs, a boost to the local economy, and a chance for the state to become a leader in a cutting-edge industry.
It's a remarkable transformation, and it's happening right now, in real time.
It's a powerful reminder that innovation can emerge from unexpected places. Bold ideas coupled with the right resources and partnerships can have a ripple effect that extends far beyond their initial scope.
And that's what makes this deep dive so compelling. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the broader implications, the potential for change, and the human stories that are driving it all.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Anduril and Arsenal One, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say this. We're living in an era of rapid technological advancement, where the lines between defense, technology, and geopolitics are increasingly blurred. Companies like Anduril are challenging the status quo, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and forcing us to rethink how we approach national security in the 21st century.
And as we've seen, the decisions being made today have far-reaching consequences that will shape the world of tomorrow in ways we can only begin to imagine. It's a time of both great opportunity and great responsibility.
Well said.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.